Okay, everybody, here we are. I think I'm gonna have to start saying everybody instead of just fellas. The ladies are not gonna only want to call it fellas, right? I don't know. You can email me a suggestion. How do you want me to address you, ladies and gentlemen? I don't know. So, we've had a few new subscribers. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for the thumbs up. And I hope that you keep watching. If you have questions about anything that I put in the videos on the channel, email me. Don't be shy, it's not an issue. And if there's anything that you want me to try to cover, if it's within my realm of possibility, I will try to do things like that for you. Okay, so we left off, we did fire. Fire is a very small subject, you know. Fire could be as easy as a lighter, right? So, yeah. So, yeah. Could be a lighter, could be matches, and so on. You can get as elaborate as you want with that, but I don't suggest you get too elaborate. We already talked about that in the last video. So, we're going to move on to some basic communications, okay? Basic. This is not your Special Forces radio operator segment, okay? That's not what this is. This is being able to talk to someone. Whoever that is up to you, right? So, in order to be able to talk to someone, we must have, and to listen to someone, we must have two things. Well, we must have three things. First, we must have a radio, okay, a transceiver. We must have a radio to talk to someone. We've all been there. We were little kids. We had our walkie-talkies, right? So these are just adult walkie-talkies. Of course, some are more basic, some are more advanced. This particular radio here, this transceiver, this is a Baofeng UV5R. It's just a very basic radio. This operates on 2 meter and 70 centimeter bands. Okay, and those are ham bands. Now, in the event of an SHTF situation, there is provision for people talking on these that don't have a license. Okay. You don't want to get these radios and run around talking on them without a license. You want to learn you want to be respectful, and you want to learn how to speak on the radio, right? And there is quite a bit to these type of radios. Ham radios have been around forever. Whenever the grid's down, ham is up. That's an old saying, okay? So a basic ham radio for communications, if there is an apocalyptic situation going on and you have to get home, and what I'm talking about, an apocalyptic situation, I'm not saying that your car broke down. I'm talking about an ICBM took out New York City, okay? Or there are asteroids falling from the sky and wiping out portions of the world, right? These are apocalyptic type events. So, you don't just get a radio like this and start talking on it wantonly, okay? You need to educate yourself a little bit. The radio is going to have to be programmed. So this particular radio is programmed with a bunch of stuff. It has certain channels that are for civilian use. It has certain channels on here that are for dispatch, for law enforcement and fire department, things like that. You don't talk on those channels. You want to listen to what they're saying, go ahead. But you don't talk on those channels. Leave that alone. So, when there's a apocalyptic situation, you have to get home, your car won't start because there was an EMP or what have you. You got this in your Faraday bag, right? Might be a double Faraday bag in your pack, your get home bag. Okay, it seems like everything's calmed down. Maybe you have something like a tester, right? This is one thing that you might consider. A cheap digital watch from a big box store. You keep that on hand, and if it went out to, or excuse me, your car goes out, the digital watch is in the Faraday bag, separate from your radio and your other electronics. You use it as a tester. So you take that little digital watch from your big box store out of its protection and you look at it. If it's still running, it's safe to take your radios and stuff out. Alright? At least at that moment. If there's another EMP, then I hope you have a couple backup radios and other stuff. Now, so you get your radio out, something happened, you get your radio out, you can listen to weather, you can listen to, you get the no bands on here, okay, so you can get the weather, you can listen to law enforcement dispatch, you could listen to fire department dispatch, things like that where you can get some information, right? You could also have a small radio for AM, FM, shortwave in a Faraday bag, okay? And you can bring that out, get yourself some information. So, these channels to talk on for civilians is called MURS, M-U-R-S, right? MURS. Instead of having all of your information in your idiot box, okay, phone, you need a Write in the Rain or similar notepad with a lot of different information in there for emergencies. You gotta actually hand write it in, right? So hopefully your fingers and your hand muscles are up to the task of actually writing. Okay. So have a Write in the Rain with all your emergency info in there, and so on. So you want to group all this stuff. I like to put all of this stuff compartmentalized, right? So when I get my radio stuff out, it's my radio and all of the things that interact with that particular item. So let's talk about the other parts real quick, because we only got about 5 more minutes here. So the other parts. So I said you need 3 parts, right? So you need the transceiver, that's the radio, right? It transmits and it receives, right? So the radio, in order for me to talk to you, I need to be able to transmit to you and get there. And you have to be able to receive my message, right? So first of all, the radio needs enough power to punch the signal through the air to you. Okay? And then you got to be able to receive it. You got to have big ears, right? Big ears to receive it. The further along you are, you need the bigger the ears you need. So that means I need power and you need big ears. So if my radio has 5 watts on its highest setting, I can punch a certain distance. Okay? If I have 8 watts, I can go further. I can reach you further. Of course, we also have to remember interference around you, right? Buildings, electromagnetic stuff going on, like power lines, right? So, and then if I have 12 to 15 watts, right, that's the big boy handhelds, I could punch further. But at the same time, you need to be able to hear me. And that's where your antenna comes in. This little basic antenna is good for car to car, vehicle to vehicle, right? This is good for vehicle to vehicles, short distances. That way you're not yelling out the window, hey, you know, no. So, there's another antenna that you can get. It's a bit longer, Nagoya 771, I believe it is. So that's a good handheld radio antenna, Nagoya 771. You can get the extended batteries, which make this an easier radio to hold. It gives it a little bit of weight as well. But the antenna. So now if I really need to receive, I need a good size antenna. So that's where your blade antennas come in. You see the military using blade antennas, right? So they fold up. Basically, they're like a tape measure, right? You pull the tape measure out, and you know how you can bend it around and all that nonsense, right? So basically, they took the same idea and they made that into antennas. So you'll have the antenna cable plug in because you want a relocation cable. Will go from your radio. That cable will go to the base of your long antenna, which you're going to strap on something, right? And then that antenna has a little strap on it. And then you undo the strap, and then it just folds out. A couple of segments, you know, like my long antennas are something like 42 centimeters, right? But you also have to power match. Like my big radios could put out as much as 15 watts, and my antenna is good for 20. So you got to watch that. I think the antennas that I have are good for 20, but some of the cheapy antennas that you find, that's a big antenna, but it's only good for like 8 watts. So you got to watch that. But you can use that type of antenna with one of your smaller 8-watt, say a Baofeng, right? So think about that. If you have any questions, email me.